On. Nick, can you make sure you're muting?
Give me 1, 2, 3 as you start, John, and I'll record at the same time.
You're muting, Nick? Yep. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go. It's Friday, 21st of August 2020. Today's show, we catch up on all the news since the last pod, including the release of the fixtures, season tickets, pre-season fixtures, and everything else. I'm John Aspinall. This is the Seasiders podcast, episode 169, season run-up. Even all you pool fans out there, welcome back to the Seasiders podcast, episode 169, season run-up. We're virtual again, and I'm looking at the guys. Firstly, Tim is at Wembley, this time with the iconic Wembley background. You've changed, haven't you?
Yeah, I've gone back in my time machine. I'm doing Back to the Future.
2010.
But it was really in response to a little jibe from one of our regulars who said, get rid of the Oyston signage. And I think both you and I had it on, didn't we?
Oh, did you have it on as well?
Yeah.
Did you?
Had it on. Yeah, it was from the Oyston period. So I've not had a chance to find something more current. So this was on my
Why not?
virtual background screensaver. So I thought it looks very colourful. I'll go with that tonight.
I'm with the Muckers in the North stand. It's quite good. Yeah, I got called out on having the Oystons flag or logo as my background, so I've changed. So I'm now in front of the North, which looks pretty cool. Sam's with us this evening, and Sam is in the South stand, aren't you, Sam?
Yeah, from the Fulham game in the Premier League years.
Pitch looks great.
I remember that was a great afternoon, that wasn't it, against Fulham, and shame we couldn't get the win against them because I thought we played well that afternoon.
Yeah, 2-1. Next.
It was over the pop at Stan. Stan was always a great groundsman. Just look at his pitch.
Was he groundsman then?
Yeah.
I can hear a lot of fireworks going off in FYA. What's going on?
I can hear him.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it as well.
It's almost as lame as when Liverpool won the league. Fireworks going off around the Foul Coast.
People singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" from the back garden. I had that with the next door.
Oh, God. Nick's with us. He's going to have to unmute himself. Nick's on the sofa. Good evening, Nick.
Good evening. No, that's me bed, the velour.
How is it?
Yes, it is.
Very kitsch.
The kitchen velour. We're up class this weekend. Matt's with us. Matt was on a Blackpool FC with the club crest in the background, but he's now gone to just a normal beige wall. What's going on, Matt?
It was just a bit ropey. I'll put it on again. There you go. Sort of
Ooh,
like...
trippy.
Exactly.
Yeah, rave, like an alternate gig.
So
Like a clubbing again.
No, I like it. I say put it back on.
I'll stick to my grey wall. There you go.
Right, this is just going to be a quick pod because we've just had an extensive meeting beforehand just to roll together some plans for next season's output, but we'll keep that under wraps for now. So we're going to just catch up on all the news basically since the last pod. And the first topic of conversation is the fixtures. So the fixtures were released 9 a.m. today, and the newest member of our production team, Mr. Sam Fielding, has produced this nifty piece of artwork. Guys, can you all see that on the screen? I'm hoping the YouTube viewers can.
Yeah.
So let's just go around the room and give our reactions to these fixtures. So, Tim, firstly, what do you think of your son's handiwork on the old artwork first, and what are the standout games for you there? And what do you think of these?
He did it right under my direction, to be fair, this morning, I think, making sure that it was properly badged, etc.
I think, it was a team effort, wasn't it? You said get the Seasiders podcast badge on there, and I provided the nice transparent logo. So we'll take a bit of the credit as well, I think.
We can't blow too much smoke up with his arse, can we? I think probably the standout fixture there is the first home game, isn't it? After pillaging Swindon Town's first team of various players, we pull them the first home game, which is quite interesting.
I was having a bit of bants back and forth with the Swindon Town podcaster. If you remember, I interviewed him about Keshi Anderson. He was good form actually, and I was messaged him before the fixture and said it'll be quite ironic if we get you first game, and it's turned out to be the case there. But he made a good point actually. He said, we've got this like faux rivalry with them now, but we've technically only really taken one of their players in the form of Keshi Anderson. Anthony Grant never happened, and we had Jerry Yates, not technically their player, so a bit of a storm in a teacup there. So anything else?
They were trying to sign him, weren't they? And I think he will just have a little bit of extra bite. Won't it on the day?
His response was, "There's going to be no away fans there, though."
I think that. Well, I was thinking social media. The only thing I'm a little bit disappointed with the Christmas fixtures, to be honest.
Who've we got?
We've got
Rochdale at home. That's all right.
That's all right, but then it's Shrewsbury away, and then Bristol Rovers away on the 2nd of January. I mean,
that's actually good for me because my sister lives in Bristol.
Yeah, I probably will go because I've not actually been to the current ground. Last time I went to watch Bristol Rovers, it was at Bath. So
we'll see. I might see you down there then.
Yeah, I quite fancy it. It's one of the ones I'm trying to ring fence games I've not been to, and I think the other thing is obviously the first 2 away games are obviously very long distance ones. I don't know whether away fans are going to be allowed into grounds. I suspect not anyway. But obviously we've got Sunderland reasonably early on, haven't we, in October? So is there a chance of us getting fans there? I don't know. But
normally I'd be
for me is to make sure home fans are in the ground.
Normally I'd be quite excited about Sunderland, but ever since they've decided to stick fans up in the gods at that stadium, it's never really appealed to me going. It was great in that Premier League game because we were pitch level pretty much, but I can't stand these away grounds, these massive ones where they stick you up in the gods. Newcastle being another. So Sam, obviously there's a fixture that you're looking forward to, I guess, in December and March.
Which ones would they be, John? I can't quite figure out. Hull City, Accrington,
Oxford, maybe. Both playing Oxford. Fleetwood Town. We're playing a bit of a grudge match for you now. This on the 5th of December away, and 13th of March at home. So them aside, what games are you looking forward to?
Again, I think Accrington away is always a good one. It's December, Saturday, just before Christmas. Hopefully, a good following there, like we did once the Oysters went out of the club. And again, it's probably a bit different because I've been up most of these grounds, but Northampton's one I'd like to go to. I missed that 3 years ago. But Ipswich is a nice ground to go to. I did that first time last year. Again, I think the ones that did stand out to me is just the Fleetwood ones, just due to the connections. But the other ones have been there and done that.
Mark, moving on to you. You always come up with something a bit off the wall with your little trips away, and you're somewhat eclectic taste in music. So I'm expecting you to come up with something a bit different. You do travel to some odd away games, don't you?
Well, I'll try to. It's the first time I've seen the fixtures, so I'm just sort of digesting them now, actually.
You've not seen them yet?
No, I've been so busy today. Been ridiculous.
Wigan away I looked at, just for the memories of that.
I'm just looking at London trips and there's Charlton away in February, and
MK Dons, are they on that? London-ish.
it's not
March,
London
9th
though,
March
is it?
away.
9th of March, is it? Oh yeah, okay. Well, that won't be happening. It's my son's birthday.
See Wimbledon away. When's that?
Yeah,
27th. It's a Tuesday.
Ah, right. Well, that won't be happening then. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess looking at these, it's. I mean, there's obviously still a couple of clubs that are they're in bother, aren't they, with Wigan and Charlton anyway? So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I actually forgot Charlton came down. Went up
With
and come
them.
up,
But yeah, it's funny, really, isn't it? You look at these and you don't get inspired by many of them, do you?
No, there's no Bolton, there's no Preston, there's no Burnley,
no,
there's no Blackburn.
There's a standout game. I've looked at this league and I think it's there for the taking. If Blackpool can bring in the right players, I honestly do believe they'll be right up there coming into the season. But you've got some big clubs in there, haven't you? Portsmouth and Ipswich didn't have the best season last year. Charlton want to get bounced straight back. I know Fleetwood want to be up there again in the playoffs. It's going to be tough, but I do think if Blackpool can be consistent this year, looking at those fixtures, I won't really be afraid of anyone.
Nick, if you want to unmute yourself now.
Yes.
And, so, what's your views just on this fixture list in general, and any trips you're looking forward to if we are allowed back?
Well, that's the thing. You kind of look at the list and then think, are we going to be able to go? That's the thing. I was looking for Crewe away. That's quite fancy that one.
Yeah, actually,
Last
I've not been
time
there
I
for
went,
ages.
That's the most pissed I've ever been at a football match. Crewe, I've only played them, so I'd like to be able to go there and remember something this time. Wigan, that's normally a good trip if we can take a decent number of fans. Accy Stanley's always a good day out, and they look after us, and it's the fan zone and all that sort of stuff. So those sorts of ones, but it all depends, doesn't it? It could all be restricted, or we might not be able to go at all. So it's hard to get. You can't really make any plans or get too excited until you know whether you can actually even go.
Yeah, that's a decent point actually. Right, so those are the fixtures. We're back on our mugs again. We had a game, beat Barrow 2-1. Was it last weekend? This Barrow game?
Tuesday
during the week. Yeah,
and that was the one that was streamed on that crappy. Was that the one at home? Sorry, it was the one at home, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We played Barrow at home Tuesday.
It was okay, to be fair.
Yeah.
They actually had about 4,000 tuning in at lunchtime on a Tuesday, which I think was a pretty good shout, really.
Did anyone watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Whole game?
Most of it.
How did we
had us
play?
from
I didn't get to see any of it.
I thought we were 1-0 down when Thornley scored, because I only tuned in. I had it in my head we were 1-0 down, and we weren't. So I thought we'd actually equalise. And it turned out he's put us ahead, but it was a great header from him for the first goal.
So let's just rewatch the highlights. I've got them on. Get rid of that screen. I've got it ready, and audio listeners, you can just listen along. And we'll make a few comments as we go. Sound on.
I think something I know, I only watched 15-20 minutes of the game, John, but what was
Can you all hear that?
was how high the attackers were pressing and not allowing Barrow, who, as you guys may have seen in the pre-season friendly, like to play out, and I'm sure David Dunn will carry on what Ian Everts did there. But I was impressed with how they're going to press teams this season and really use the pace to get at the opposition. And I think one of the highlights, I think it's Hamilton runs down, and you just think if he can be direct and get past players, no one's going to stop him.
There's no YouTube, John, if that's what you're asking.
It's not on.
No.
No.
It's a bit of a balls up. Yeah, you see it now, yeah?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
No, I'll just echo what Sam just said, though. It was high. I suppose high press is definitely what they're trying to do. And And you can see teams probably much like ourselves will try to play out the back more in League One, which, you know, with respect to League One defenders, not all of them are capable of doing that. And I think that's probably going to be where we might get a lot of success next year. I think it's obviously just trying to find the right combination of the front three or even front four or five, depending on how you want to play it. That'll be the best to do that. But it was noticeable, I thought, between certain players how they were more potentially adapt to what Critchley's trying to do. One or two of them, I think, are possibly going to struggle a wee bit.
Anyone in particular? Teddy Howe?
No, I was thinking more of the front players, really. I saw Jerry Yates was going pretty much across the front three, and Gary Medine was just stood in the middle and not doing an awful lot. So I think if you're looking at one person against another as sort of almost like a like for like, you know, you can see that Yates is miles ahead of Medine in terms of what you think Critchley's going to do. I'm sure he'll have a part to play, but he's miles behind him in terms of mobility.
So
yeah, I'd agree. It's very much about pace, isn't it, and being comfortable on the ball right the way from the back four through midfield into attack. Like Sam said, it's a high press with a lot of pace. And I'd agree about CJ Hamilton. I think he's got all the pace in the world to get into those scoring positions. It's just whether he can finish when he gets into them. I think if they can work on that, then we've got a hell of a player there. Similarly with Anderson and Kaikai as well. There's loads of pace. We probably need maybe someone in the centre of midfield and possibly somebody at the centre of defence, maybe a bit of experience. But it's all going to be about getting on the front foot and pressing, creating chances, I looked at the thing as well I noticed was when we lost the ball, how quick we were to try and get it back and get back into possession. And not necessarily go on the attack again. You know, there was quite a bit of patient passing across the back, which gave you a few nervy moments sometimes. But I think that's going to be the way we're going to play going into the season, definitely.
Mm-hmm. I think you've got to have those options going forward. If you're looking at the fixture list, playing Saturday, Tuesday, and the cup games coming as well, Critchley's got to have wingers who can come in. Sarkic can play wide or in that number 10 role. So I think it's important that squad rotation is going to be important this season. And it's how he uses them and utilises players in certain games, because there'll be some, Rochdale comes to mind, they've tried and play out from the back, and as Matt said, there's going to be so many errors in League One. If you can capitalise on those mistakes, you'll pick up 3 points more often. So I just think he's going to have a tough decision on a match day to choose a front three, but it's not a bad headache to have for a manager.
So let's quickly talk about the strength of the squad. Tim, you first. Where do you think this squad needs improving in its present state?
Touched upon this in the last pod. I think goalkeeper still. I think we're one shy. We seem to have been playing this trialist keeper quite a bit, don't we, in the existing friendlies? I'm not sure whether he's the answer based on what I've seen, albeit quite limited. So I'd like to see us strengthen in that area. And I think I'd also like to see us strengthen with I think we probably need a bit of experience in centre mid. Who that might be remains to be seen, but we've got a lot of young people, young players, and you've got I was on a bit of a joke with somebody because they were saying, there's too many under 23s, and when the going gets tough, they're all going to be looking for a leader, and of course you've got the old Alan Hansen.
I was just about to say
comments,
that.
Haven't you?
Don't win anything with kids.
About not winning anything with kids, and I think you can win things with a young squad, but I think there's always a place for experience, and I think we need a midfield general. I'm not quite sure we've got that yet.
Anyone else? Matt, where do you think we're short, if anywhere?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think there does need to be a bit of an old 24-year-old possibly in the middle of the park. Plus, I think we're still a bit light at the back as well. I quite like the look of the lad we got in from Leyton Orient, whose surname I can't pronounce yet.
Ekpateta.
Correct. He looks big and strong and quick and comfortable on the ball. He may be prone to a few mistakes, I dare say, as like most of them will be at 23 and under. And I think that's something that we've got to be aware of as fans, that these kids, shall we call them, are going to make mistakes, and we've got to probably be patient with them. Which I guess, going back to Tim's point, is important. Why we could get a more mature player in with experience to help them on. Interesting, obviously, that we got rid of Jay Spearing, who could have been that player potentially. But you think that we're looking at probably a better Jay Spearing, hopefully, in the pipeline.
Nick, Penny, for your thoughts on this hot topic?
Yeah, I think I'd probably echo what Matt and Tim have said. You look at goalkeeper position as a start. I think we need somebody who's going to really push Maxwell. Probably centre half. I think it's looking like Thornley's going to be in there from what we've seen in pre-season, and he comes with very good pedigree from Chef Wednesday. Ekpateta, yeah, he's looking good, but like Matt says, you think he's got a mistake in him, so you wonder whether we need a bit of experience there. Left back, Colin McDonald's just gone, which was maybe a bit of a surprise to a lot of people. Nathan Shaw's been playing there, but relatively untested, so possibly that position as well. Somebody in the centre of midfield. There's talk about this lad from Everton. But again, he's very young. So yeah, I think the word that's jumping out for me is experience. But I trust the manager to know what he's doing. If he's letting Callum McDonald go to Tranmere, you'd think that they've got somebody lined up, or else they wouldn't have let him go. So I think we've got to trust what he's doing. That he's going to be backed by Simon Sadler, and we'll get. I'm sure by the start of the season or the end of the transfer window, we'll get another 3 or 4 in.
Sam, as Nick's touched on there, Colin McDonald going to Tranmere. Very strange decision for me. Your thoughts on that, and your thoughts on the squad in general?
McDonald, I've seen him in a few games, and I think he's got that pace and attacking mentality, and a little bit of a surprise. But when you think about the Premier League sides, they're still in the early stages of pre-season. I don't think they've maybe made their mind up on which youngster or young players might be going out on loan. So maybe that's something he
He's got an iron in the fire.
Yeah, and you've got James Husband there, who's reliable.
You coming from Fleetwood as well, Husband with his Fleetwood connections.
Yeah,
would you say he's a better player?
He had those games where he was steady at the back and that kind of experience head. But there are moments which I saw last season in the 5-6 games I was able to get to, that he does have that little bit of positioning awareness where his weakness is really. But I think that midfielder, is it Banigmi? Probably pronounced that wrong. But again, I've seen him for Everton's under 23s when Fleetwood played there. And again, strong midfielder. Similar to kind of a Kante role in terms of win the ball back, play it simple, and let the attacking players do what they do best. But I just think we're maybe 2 or 3 players away from really being up there.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're all agreed that we need some experienced player. Hopefully, we get yours and your dad's neighbour on board. He did say in the week, I saw a little interview with him saying he's going to make a decision in 10 days. So it'll be interesting to find out.
And make sure he makes the right decision.
Be interesting. Tim, have you got any goss on Charlie?
No, I've not spoken to him. I've not even seen him actually, to be honest, recently. I mean, he's looking extremely fit from what photographs I've seen. The odd person taking a photograph down at Poolfoot and whatever, haven't they? I mean, no is the short answer. I do think I mean, when we talk about having some experience in that, it doesn't even have to be anybody too old, really. I mean, if we had Dewsbury Hall back, or if we had somebody in there who's going to be a guaranteed starter every week, then I'd be a lot happier. And I just think there's a place to be that's still up for grabs there, isn't there? There's very much a play, and I'm sure that ultimately we've probably got lined up. I mean, there was talk about that, Ben, is it Woodburn, who was at Oxford. And we were linked with him, weren't we? And I still wonder, I mean, if we got someone like him into the midfield, then you know, that I'd find that more encouraging. But yeah, I think this, I'm not sure it's 3 or whether it's 2. I think up front we look okay. I think Medine is only going to be a bit part player this year. From what I've seen so far, he looks well off the pace to me.
And Nuttall.
Yeah, and I think Nuttall might not go out on loan, to be honest. I think that's what he needs. I think he needs 3 or 4 months away. I think he's behind Hardy in my pecking order at the moment. He was coming good, but I think he needs to be playing every week, and he's not going to be playing every week in this team. If he's not playing every week in this team, he's better going out on loan for 3 months and then coming back hopefully at Christmas and making a difference.
He'll do him the world of good to get games under his belt, because I think he's come with a bit of a price tag, and there's quite a bit of pressure on him already, isn't there?
So yeah, for him as a developing player to be getting 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there. You know, we've said this before, haven't we? You know, going right back, Matty Phillips was in the same position with us and went away to Sheffield United and came back a far, far better player. And I think that's what we need Joe to do.
Go on, Sam. You were just saying.
I just think he's, 23, 24. He's been out and about, and he's played games for Blackburn. Maybe not as many as he would like to, but if you can't perform at League One level and he's come with that price tag, sometimes you've got to make a decision, and some signings work out, some signings don't. And personally, I don't think it's worked out for Nuttall.
I think ditto with Gary Medine. I think obviously he's coming in on, I would imagine, reasonably good wages. Nuttall will be as well. So I think Simon Grayson's got a lot to answer for, really. He's wasted a lot of Simon Sadler's money, and I'm kind of not surprised he's got the push. So so I think it seems we're sweeping away a lot of the Grayson deadwood by the looks of that. Well, Critchley is anyway. So let's hope Nuttall's on the end of that brush next. Right, next topic is the Everton game, which is the next friendly coming tomorrow from Bloomfield Road. The miserly sum of £6, and a lot of people happy with this. I'm going to pay. It seems like they're going to have a decent production values with proper commentary, replays, etc. But there's been quite a few moaning bastards out on social media. Unbelievable what's to come in on this.
I'll start. I mean, I can sort of understand a little bit, because, of course, a lot of people who committed to the season tickets have committed without knowing that they're going to get access to games. So and a lot of people left money in the club, so maybe they could have offered it free, particularly to season ticket holders. There seems to be a bit of confusion as to whether Everton season ticket holders have got it or not got it. I know Steve Rowland's come out and said he understands it, they haven't, but others are saying that they have. So I can understand it, but at the end of the day, listen, we said this on the last pod, didn't we? The owners put in serious money in here, and at the end of the day, £6. I mean, you can even share it between a load of you. I've signed up for it. You know, you can get a few of you together. It's £1, £2 each. It's nothing really, is it, in the scheme of things? If you don't want to pay it, then you don't pay it. You know?
I don't understand the mentality of people moaning about it on social media.
You can watch it.
Well, yeah.
All around.
We'll chip in £1 each. Well,
just some of that cider from the oldie, that'll be all right.
The vintage cider, yeah. I'll get stocked up. So, Matt, Sam, I'm coming to you first. Matt, what are your views on this friendly? Firstly, the moaners, and secondly, the up-and-coming game itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think it was in the press or somewhere today that somebody put that, Everton normally go to the Far East and these sort of places, don't they, for pre-season friendly. So the fact that we've got a game against them, we should sort of embrace it, really. And, yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do? We can't go into the ground, obviously. So for £6, and like we've said, if it's split between 2 or 3 of you, or even on your own, to the majority of people, that's affordable. And
you'd have paid £6 anyway to get in, probably a tenner, wouldn't you?
I mean, quite frankly, what else are you going to be doing on a Saturday afternoon when normally you'd be going to the match anyway? Because obviously the season should have started by now. So pretty much by now. I can't think of, yeah, by now, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be watching it. I'm sure of that. I haven't signed up yet, but I will be. And yeah, we'll see what we can do against the Premier League big boys.
Just as a technical point, can you only watch it on like a phone or a laptop?
I think so. I think that's right.
Then
yeah.
you've got to cast it, haven't you, onto your TV?
Yeah.
Watching on your TV.
It's an interesting point, actually, because it won't be on the YouTube channel, I'd guess.
No, it's not. When I've signed up for it, and you go into this link, and then you've got to log into that link, but I'm not going to be able to do that on my telly. So I presume you have to do that and then cast it onto your TV.
Yeah, if it's in a Chrome web browser, you can just cast it, can't you?
Yeah.
Sam, coming over to you. A, the moaners, B, the game itself. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think you've got to take in consideration the production costs for Everton, bringing all the equipment and providing that for Blackpool, and then people need paying, and I'm guessing some will go towards that, and Blackpool keep a small percentage of it. But again, I think you're going to pay for quality service, and what we've seen maybe recently, no graphics on the screen. I think it's worth every penny.
I do.
Going to the game itself be a really good test. Everton, poor last season in the Premier League, never really hit the heights that they maybe should have done under the manager. But again, I think they both played each other in a pre-season friendly the year we went up to the Premier League. So who knows?
Right, finally, Nick, coming to you. What's on £6 gate and game itself?
Yeah, like you say, people are always going to have something to moan about, certain people. And when you look at it, it's going to be a decent production. They're going to send a strong team, and it's the cost of, I'm going to say, a couple of pints. Nowadays, it's the cost of 1 pint in some bars. So, and I think we'll get a good indication of what might be towards the starting lineup for the first game of the season. So, for £6, stop moaning and sign up.
Get him spending.
Bottles and cans, Derry.
Bottles and cans at Old Tim's, I think, tomorrow. Bottles and cans of vintage cider. Some Old Tim's ruin.
Could be empty tomorrow, couldn't it?
Right, we'll just take a quick break and we'll cover the rest of the items and wrap things up. Time for a quick break in proceedings to say, if you're enjoying this content and want to say thanks for the pods, please consider joining our Patreon supporter program. Starting from the price of a pint per month, Patreon allows you to contribute towards our production costs, gear upgrades, and our drinks tab at the Dog. Your support will ultimately make the show bigger, better, and like eating a tin of prunes, more regular. You'll also get extra stuff in return, like all the podcasts before general release, backstage access to us and our guests, exclusive Patreon-only shows, and other random bits and pieces. So head on over to patreon.com/Seasiders pod to find out more and hopefully sign up. And some of those funds will be going towards our new multiple live streaming service for next season. So, as we mentioned previously, I think it was a previous pod, Sam's going to be running a live preview show for us on Fridays, hopefully every Friday. And some of that money will be invested in this system that allows us to broadcast out to multiple platforms, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live, and the like. So that's where the money goes. So there you go. Fancy signing up, patreon.com/Seasiders pod. It's only a pint per month, £3.50. It's actually in UK pounds now. So get him spending. Right, on to the next piece of content we've got, which is the Carabao Cup draw was made in the week. And we've got Stoke City. First time we've played them since 2010. Britannia ground. This will be happening on Saturday, the 29th of August. So, Matt, let's start with you for this one. Happy memories of Stoke away in the past, and how do you think we'll get on in this game? It's quite a decent draw as well.
I've only been to Stoke once, and it was frightening, quite frankly.
Old school or new school? Was it the old ground then? Victoria ground?
It was new school. It just seems to take an age to get from whichever mode of transport you're on to the ground, which was a bit hairy from memory.
You can see it from the A road, can't you? Britannia Stadium.
Yeah, pass it quite a lot going towards like Derby way on the A50.
Why did it take you long to get there? Did you go on the train?
Oh no, it was once I parked up. It was just like a long sort of car park, and
Okay. Why was it hairy?
Locals don't like anybody, do they? It wouldn't seem. So it doesn't matter where you're from, I don't think. So it's an horrible ground as well. Bloody freezing, open corners,
It's corners, isn't
horrible.
it?
Oh, grim. So obviously, the biggest cup competition of the season, one that we always look out for. Really looking forward to this one.
I can sense
Said with
the
hint of
irony
smoke.
in his voice there. Nick, what do you think of this cup draw and the game itself?
Yeah, you
Well,
kind of
meh.
look, Stoke away. But having said that, I think
A
if
good
we
test.
play you what?
Could be a good test against a decent.
It could. And I think they'll probably play a second 11. And I think if we play our first, you never know. It could quite easily be an upset. So, let's go there with confidence and see if we can get a result. Similar to Matt, my memories of it are certainly the old ground. I went to the one where Trevor scored in the 91st
infamous game.
minute. And got kept in for an hour and a half and collected a few 2-pence pieces. And then the new ground, I think I went when we won 3-1 under Worthington.
And we've won there under Holloway in the
under Holloway. Also, some happy memories. So hopefully we'll add to that. I think we've got a chance. We've got a great pre-season, and there's no reason why we can't go there and get a result.
Sam, you being of what's the opposite of a certain vintage, Tim?
A Beaujolais.
Sam being a Beaujolais Nouveau, I wouldn't imagine you've had many trips to Stoke away, or have you?
I think I've been twice. I feel like I've been definitely the Premier League year, and then I don't know, one before or.
It was 10 years ago in the Premier
twice,
League.
Yeah.
You'll have been, 16, 15 when you went there?
Yeah, 15, 16.
Jesus.
Again, behind that goal, I think it was just before Christmas as well. And I think DJ bagged the knee in front of the Blackpool fans that day in the Premier League, and all singing, "Oh, what fun it is to see Blackpool win away." Christmas jingle tune. But now going to the game, I think, was it a week or two before the actual league campaign starts? I can imagine Blackpool going strong against Everton. I can see him putting a similar team out against Stoke. And then you've also got Barrow, I think, on the Tuesday before the first league game against Plymouth. So it's a real chance now for Critchley to kind of pick his 11, maybe give them 70 minutes this time round or 80 minutes and really push them on, because first and foremost, the league's the important one, and the cup competition, I'm afraid, a second.
Right, finally coming to you, Tim. Any memories of Stoke and thoughts on the game?
Yeah, actually, my probably most the memory that's etched on my mind is actually a home game rather than an away game. I'll come to the away game in a second. But we played Stoke I think it was probably the same year of the Trevor Sinclair game, and we were at home, and Stoke descended on us in rather large numbers. And I always remember approaching the ground, crossing Central Drive, coming up Bloomfield Road, and some big fat pie muncher decided that I was his target, and he was chasing me around this car, and he couldn't catch me because he was too big, too fat, and we kept on going around this car, and it was like a scene out of a cartoon thing where he's going, "Come here, you bastard," or whatever, and I'm just like, nobody's helping me, nobody's. I didn't run. I don't know why I just didn't completely run off, but we must go around this car about 10 times. So it's quite amusing. And then probably the Trevor Sinclair game, which Nick's referenced already, at the old Victoria ground, which always reminded me a little bit like Bloomfield. It had like that cop end that I always like, and how the hell we won that game. They'd never lost. It was one of the last games of the season, and they'd not lost at home. They had Grobler in nets. They had a really good team.
And we had Neil Bailey playing.
And we had Neil Bailey standing in at left back because he was a coach, because we didn't have a proper team. And Trevor absolutely just ripped him a new one. and all game, and then just before the end, he goes through and scores, and I think the Oatcake have always said that's one of the best celebrations they've ever seen from Blackpool fans. It was always got mentioned. So it's in my top 5 away games. So it really stands out.
Yeah, definitely.
So they're my two. I hate the Britannia. I think Matt's right. That walk up to I've never actually found it that intimidating, which the Victoria was, but it's just such a long walk and it's a bit sterile, and
it's like Derby almost, isn't it? In a new stadium in a sterile.
I don't like it, and it's just like such a long trek there and back after the game as well. So
surprised to say none of us will be going.
It's an interesting game, better than having some, really. It's a test for us, isn't it? I mean, they may put out a second team. Hopefully, we take it seriously. I always want us to take cup competition seriously. So, looking forward to that.
Okay, so
that's next Saturday, isn't it? I think.
It is, yeah. Saturday, the 29th of August. So.
Forward.
Yeah.
I'm going to step in there. It's actually called the Bet 365 Stadium now for commercial reasons.
Oh, and one thing is, somebody said this on the forums this week. Has anybody ever had Carabao? Because
no.
They've been sponsoring this cup competition for God knows how many years now, and I've never seen it.
What exactly is it? Is it like a power drink?
Yeah, it's
like Red Bull.
Apparently, it's like a crap Red Bull, from what I can gather. But I've never ever seen it anywhere. So all this money they must be chucking at the sponsorship, but there's no products. It's bizarre. Anyway,
right. Where to go from there? The Efl Trophy Draw. We've got Accy, Barrow and Leeds under 21s. Anyone bothered about this? Shout first if you are. Where's the tumbleweed sound effect?
It's just.
Is this that irrelevant that doesn't need talking about?
Move on.
So let's move on. Try to keep this one short today. Right, I'm going to go to visual form. This is for the YouTube. To share your computer audio. I don't want to do that. Sorry, listeners. Do bear with. Right. Can you see that, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
New supporters bar. These pictures are courtesy of Mr. Tim Fielding.
I don't know whether we should have been sharing these, but anyway, we are doing.
Why not?
Copyright.
There's going to be a new supporters bar. Formerly the number one club. Formerly the old bowling club. Tim's got a bit of inside info here in the form of pics. And Matt, it looks pretty decent, doesn't it?
It does. I like the
outside.
The German-influenced bar tables.
What's that? What do you mean?
Well, you can take away the seats. You can get like 15 people stood around them as opposed to one table of 4 or whatever.
Okay.
So I noticed there's one in the background, and then I think there was one being part cobbled up as well. So
what, you're saying those tables there, they probably won't have the seats there?
Well, potentially on the match day, yeah. You can just all lean in and put your pint on them. So you can get like 12 people around them or something, which is a bit more sociable than having a couple of tables.
Mm. So yeah, it looks decent though, doesn't it? It's not finished, but it looks like a good job.
You can see there's work going on, and the finished products hopefully will be something that we can all be proud of, and somewhere we can all go and meet. And we're all hoping we're there for the first game of the season against Swindon, and that's hopefully it'll be open for them.
I don't
know when it's meant to be open, but I would like to think it's open for the start of the season.
So if you look at this picture here, downstairs there's a kind of a circular table on tabletop on a barrel, and there's tangerine and white seats surrounding it. That looks like is that in the dungeon, Matt, as you branded it?
I think so, because
like it was dark and dingy.
Yeah, I think so, because obviously upstairs is like where we had the meetings and all that sort of stuff, the early days of Supporters Trust and whatnot. So I can't think it's there, because that's
Maybe
Well,
it's
no, 'cause
upstairs because it's
one side
light.
would be the bar, wouldn't it? And the other side would have windows in it.
Yeah.
Interestingly, it's the downstairs dingy bit, as you referred to it, where we had the infamous meeting with Carl and Glenn on the CISA
Oh, yeah.
meetings, and where they were sniggering.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. So it has got that downstairs bar has got a place, I suggest, in that history.
Yeah. It looks good though, doesn't it?
It does.
First
It
impressions.
does. They've done a really good job. You know, obviously not finished, but it's a good development. Because I always used to like going there. The number one. It was almost Phoenix Knights-esque. It was crap, but it was it's just a good vibe, a good place. Sort of a spit and sawdust place to go before the game. Cheap ale as well. Which always helps.
Yeah, and I think it'd be great just to have a place where, all the fans can gather and have a great atmosphere. And, I think it's something that's been missing since, obviously we've been boycotting, but there was the Seasiders bar in the ground, wasn't there? But that went. So I think it's been crying out for something like this. Just hopefully we can all go back.
I just hope the beer's better than the ground. I'm sure it will be.
Tim, you had a bit of an influence in the bottle bars, didn't you? But not the actual draft lager. I echo what Matt said.
They changed at the end of the season. They changed, didn't they? The supplier, which I didn't have any say in, but
it's always crap lager in the ground, though, isn't it? It's like Carling or ice cold and fizzy and horrible. So they need to.
Yeah,
they do need to look at that.
I never drink lager in the ground because whichever ground you go to, it's always pants, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hope. I mean, listen, we all hope it works out for the guys behind it, and I'm sure it will. The important thing for them is to make sure that it's used during the week as well as during match day games, and that's where the challenge is going to be to put things on and to make it something that.
I mean, I'd go.
Think about going to midweek rather than just at 1:00, 1:30 on a Saturday.
I think the only problem is with parking. Well, now obviously there's a car park, but you've got to pay. But I hope it's a success. And if you put events on,
car park in Europe right next to it.
Oh yeah, you've got to pay though, Tim. In fact, there's plenty of free parking at BBE Law just down the road, isn't there?
All to this new bar. So and on the way to the ground and back, so you could have one on the way and on the way back as well.
Yeah.
While you wait for the traffic to die down.
Right, yes. Let's hope this is a big success. Anyway, something to look forward to if we're allowed back. Right, let's wrap things up now. Just last thing to talk about is the season tickets. The early bird promotion has now finished, with approximately 3,000 sold. Did anyone read that would surpass that figure?
That 3,000 figure was on when I went to get mine, we were at 3,000 then, and that was the day before. And they were busy in the afternoon, and then they announced that they were capping it at 4, and I believe they were very busy the day afterwards. So I suspect, cards on the table, I think we will be nearer the 4,000 figure than 3 at this moment in time.
So, Matt,
I don't think we're sold out because obviously, but I don't think we're far off it.
So Matt, Nick, Sam, just to close off, would you like to speculate as to why it's been capped? Do you think this is going to be an indication that we're going to be allowed in the ground at reduced numbers?
That's what I'm hearing.
Through sources.
Through sources, that it's approximately 25% of our capacity. So therefore, we can be treated as a pilot case for getting live sport back up and running in the country, perhaps.
What I've heard is that I heard there was a meeting with the council on Wednesday to sort of dot the I's and cross the T's on this. And one of the major concern was actually regulating how people left the ground as distinct from arriving. So I think they found it easier to control how people access the stadium than not. So and the other interesting things for me is like, are they going to have the bars open and the refreshment counters, or are they going to keep those closed? Are you going to have to wear a mask?
What, actually in the stadium as well?
In the stadium, full stop, or at least when you go down the concourses, how they're going to let you sit. Are you going to be able to sit in your clusters? Are they going to space you? All these things are going to be interesting to see how it actually pans out.
Anyone else got any views on this before we go? Any comments? Quips?
I think this is it, isn't it? That we're in the clubs and everybody's still very much in the unknown as far as these types of things are going to roll out. And I guess a lot of it comes down to how, if we're allowed in under certain restrictions, shall we say, how we all comply with it. Because I would like to think that if it meant watching live football every week or every other week, you'd do your damnedest and behave yourself and
wear a mask
and do whatever you needed to do. Yeah, you know, I don't know how that affects anything. Obviously, I'm not an expert in these things, but I think, you know, it's probably going to be a lot of rules and regs that are going to come in with all this.
And I think we can expect it to be very, very closely monitored, because if we are the test cases, they are going to be looking at that. So, you know, we're starting at 4, and I'd like to think by Christmas we might be up to 6, and then we might move on from there as we move back to hopefully a semblance of normality. But if we ignore whatever rules are in place and congregate and don't do what we're meant to do when we're meant to do it, then it is going to impact on how quickly the thing moves forward. Or indeed, it might even result in restrictions being imposed, which bars us from the grounds again. We just don't know, do we? The government don't, at the moment, whatever we ever think about the way that the dilatory attitude at the start, they seem to be very, very apt at slapping very, very draconian rules on areas and tourists and whatever else it might be at the flick of the wrist. So, you know, we've seen Oldham, I think, has gone down today as one of these areas that's had restrictions imposed. We've seen the stuff with Croatia and whatever else. And, you know, it won't take much for them to say football fans are not going in the ground again. So we need to play our part, I think.
Yeah. What I don't get is you can go to the pub and do different
disagree.
groups.
Never thought I'd hear the words Oldham and Croatia in the same sentence.
And I work in the pub in Thornton, and you can have the TV on, but you can't have the sound because it might entice people to shout. And that's one thing. Will they stop people from chanting? There's so many different questions that need to be answered for me. Probably before I go back into the ground. I've not bought a season ticket yet, but I just don't think it'll have the same feeling. But I know there'll be many out there who just want to watch football. But for me, I don't know, for me, it won't be the same whether there's 4,000 in and social distancing. I think there's so many things up in the air that need to be finalised and communicated out to the football fans.
I think it's better than nothing, though, isn't it? I think that's the key takeaway.
I genuinely did not think we'd be back in. Now, after they cancelled those tests in the racing and the cricket, I thought there's no chance we'll be in October. Never mind the 12th of September. I know our first home game's a week afterwards, but obviously these rules are going to come in from the 12th of September. So if our understanding is correct and we're going to be in from them, that's a massive bonus, because it's not the end game, is it? It's the start. So hopefully, if everything goes right, then it'll start going up incrementally to the point where, you know, we've got a decent crowd there. Once we've got 6,000 or 7,000 in, it will make a massive, massive difference. I think it's going to be a bit sterile with 4, but it's up to us to make the most of it when we're in there, isn't it? I can't imagine they're going to say you can't chant and whatever. But
I think if you chant with a mask on, it'll be all right, won't it?
If you have to wear a mask, it's going to be muffled anyway, isn't it? So
we'd all sound like Tango the gorilla when he used to chant. Remember that?
I think we're probably quite lucky in that our you know, we've got 4,000 season ticket holders, as it seems to be at the moment, a ground that holds 16,000-ish, and we sort of fit almost perfectly in terms of what we can get out of it for the time being. Whereas you got to think of somebody like, I don't know, Barrow, that's just entered the Football League, and I don't know their capacity, but I'd imagine it's 5,000 or 6,000 or something like that, perhaps. And if they're under restrictions to get maybe 1,200 in, but you can imagine that for the first season of their, back in the league, they would probably fill out most weeks, pay on the gates and away fans and all the rest of it. So we might sort of, be quite lucky in our own circumstances. And equally at the other end, you got the likes of Pompey and Sunderland, who have presumably got 15, 20,000 season ticket holders or whatever. I don't know how they're going to cope, whether they have to tell people, no, you can't come in for the first few weeks or whatever. It's going to be really interesting.
I think the other thing is that if you think about during the boycott, there's going to be more people in than there was during that, and probably still a better atmosphere.
Definitely.
I think my Nick's right there. On that note, I think we'll call it a day. It's been a long day, gents, hasn't it? We've had a big we had a meeting, sort of drawing up battle plans for next season before this. And yeah, we're hoping to get more content out next season and more regular. And that was that. And this was the podcast. So we're going to be coming back perhaps after the next couple of friendlies. We'll report on that. We'll report on any news that comes out, and hopefully we've got some good news vis-a-vis getting back to the stadium and getting back to games. So all remains to be said is thanks, gents. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for listening. Up the pool.
Up the pool.
Up the pool.
Up the pool.
Messages before you head off. I'd just like to ask, if you haven't already, to please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. It helps the show grow, gain more exposure. So if you go to seasiderspodcast.co.uk/review, that'll redirect you to the iTunes review site. So if you could do that, that'd be greatly appreciated. Just to make you aware, you can listen to this show on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Pocket Casts, and Google Podcasts. And if you're not listening to this on a podcast app, I highly encourage you to do so, because it is the best way to listen, because you get them sent automatically. If you're on social media, we are on there, so please do give us a follow. If you're not doing so already, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Seasiders Pod is my handle, so I'm sure if you search for that or just Seasiders Podcast, you'll find us on there. So if social media is not your thing, we do have an email list. So if you want to sign up to that, you'll get an email whenever we do release a new show. So go to seasiderspodcast.co.uk/email and sign up there. And finally, if you do enjoy what we're doing here and you want to chip in a few quid every month to help pay for our production costs and gear upgrades, please consider joining our Patreon supporter program, where you get lots of exclusive content and services in return. So head on over to seasiderspodcast.co.uk/support to find out more. Right, I promise that's the last you'll hear from me. See you on the next pod. Over and out. All right, thanks everyone.
Cheers, mate.
Being emotional. See you later.
See you guys.